Okay, in lesson 7, we are going to be also working on equivalent fractions. Remember, those are fractions that are equal to each other. So if I started off with a candy bar and I ate half of it, and then I decided, oh wait, no, I was going to share that with someone. I cut it in 2 pieces, but I still gave that person 2 out of the 4 pieces. I'm still giving them half of my candy bar. That's what we're talking about. So the secret to doing that in this lesson is we always start with our original fraction first. So that's before they did the dotted line where they cut it. So this fraction, they shaded 1/2. Let's do this one is also 1/2. Let's go down to C. This is also originally 1/2. And then D is also 1/2. Now that we've started the problem, we're going to see what happens. So this half is 1 unit out of the whole thing. So you can see that when they cut the shape, they made this shape into more pieces. So I cut it in half. That means I cut the unit in 2 pieces, but I also cut the whole thing in 2 pieces. So I show that I took that original half and I cut it, or I increased the number of pieces. That's why I'm showing a multiplication by 2 pieces. And then if I look now, I have 2 shaded pieces out of 4 total. So I end up with a fraction of 2/4. Also, if I multiply 1 times 2, I get 2. 2 times 2, I get 4. So in the middle of this equation, or I'm sorry, in the middle of this problem, I'm going to write a multiplication with my fractions to show how did I cut this original fraction to make equivalent size. This is where all the work happens, right in the middle. So I started with 1/2, and then I cut that into thirds. So I increased the number of pieces by 3. So I took my original half, and I'm going to multiply it by thirds, because I did it in 1, 2, 3 pieces, right? Once I cut it into thirds, how many pieces do I have now that are shaded? I have 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. I have 3/6 pieces are shaded, and here's 1, 2, 3 of the 6 total pieces. All right, pause if you need to and catch up. Okay, problem C. I also started an original fraction of 1/2. And then I'm going to take my 1/2 and I'm going to cut it. And that means I'm going to increase the number of pieces that I have. And I increase them by 1, 2, let's see, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So my unit is now 4 pieces, and my whole thing is now cut into 4 pieces. So I increase the size by 4. I'm sorry, I increase the pieces by 4. The size of the shaded amount is still the same. So 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, and I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 shaded pieces out of 8 in all. Okay, let's look at this side. We started with 1/2. We take our original 1/2 and we're going to cut it. Oops, I don't know why I just did a fraction thing there. We're going to cut the 1/2 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And we'll see what we have left. So we're increasing the pieces by 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. Oops. 2 times 5 is 10. So if I compared 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10 total, that does equal 5/10. So ultimately what I want you to notice is that 1/2, which was this size, is also the same as 2/4. 1/2, which is this amount, is ultimately the same as 1, 2, 3/6. 1/2 is equal to 4/8, and 1/2 is equal to 5/10. Yes, here was half of the shape, and that's also equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 10 pieces. All right. Now it says that we're going to make up our own problem. We're going to just decompose, which means make it smaller, the shaded amount into smaller units. We're going to express the equivalent fraction in a number sentence. That means I need an equal sign using multiplication. So we're going to do exactly what we did above. First, what's our original fraction? This piece represents 1/4. This piece represents 1/5. And we're going to make some decision on how we want to cut it so that we can create an equivalent fraction. So we're going to cut, let's just do 2. That makes it easy. So now we've taken the 1 whole and we've cut the 1 whole into 2 parts, and we've also cut the fraction size into parts. I'm sorry, the unit size into parts, 2 parts. So whenever you are trying to make an equivalent fraction, always, always, always multiply by the same numerator, the same denominator. So 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So you will see I have 2 out of 8 pieces left. Now let's cut this 5th into thirds. So let's cut it into 3 parts. I don't know what just happened there. There we go. Let's cut it into 3 parts. So I have my 1/5. I'm going to cut it in 3 parts. So I cut the whole thing into 3, and I also cut just this 5th into 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. I have 1, 2, 3 shaded pieces out of 15 altogether. Pause if you need to. You're going to make up your own on this one, these two as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of, oops, sorry. There is 1 out of 6 shaded. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 out of 7 shaded. We're going to cut the 1/6. Let's cut it into thirds again, cutting it into 3 other parts. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So I can see that 1/6 is equal to 3/18 because I have 1 3/18 left over. Let's just cut this one in half. So we're starting with 1/7. We're going to cut it into halves. So we're going to cut the numerator and the denominator by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 7 times 2 is 14. I can see that 1/7, which was this original piece, is the same as 2/14. They are equivalent fractions. What happened to the size of the fractional units when we decompose them? The size, they became smaller because we started off with a long piece, and then when we cut them, they became smaller. But what happened to the total number of units we had? When we had a shape like this, and we just shaded 1/2, after we decomposed it and cut it, we had more pieces. So the number increased. We can't say the number got bigger, the number increased. We had more. So they were smaller pieces, but we had more. Now it says we have to make 2 different area models. That's why they give us these 2 area models to represent 1/3 by shading. So let's start with that. All right, we've got our area models. I'm going to shade 1/3 in each one. So I'm going to write 1/3 as my starting fraction. Once you get that all caught up, then you can move on to the next part. So pause it. Now we're going to decompose the shaded fraction, A. We're going to put that into 6 pieces, 1/6. So if I want to cut it into 6, I have 3 pieces now. So if I cut it in half, I would end up with 6 pieces. So this piece, B, we're supposed to cut into 9 pieces. I have 3 pieces now. If I cut it in half, I have 6. If I cut it one more time, I would have 9. So I'm going to cut it into ninths. Now we have to use multiplication to show how each fraction is equivalent to 1/3. So here we go. So 1/3 equals. I took my 1/3 and I cut each one into half. So I cut it into 2 parts, or I increased it by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, and I see 2 out of my 6 in the picture, so I know that's correct. This one I cut into ninths. The way I got it into ninths was taking my 1/3 and cutting it into 3, and increase the pieces by 3. So 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9, so I see 3 pieces out of my 9. All right, continue on.